Hi, my name's Alan Smith, and in this Azure Cognitive Services webcast, we're going to look at the features of the computer vision service. Okay, so I'm in the Cognitive Services documentation here, and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to select the Vision section here. And you can see we've got Computer Vision, Custom Vision, and the Face API. I've done quite a few webcasts looking at Custom Vision, where we build our own model. But here, I'm going to look at the Computer Vision. And the main difference here is we're not going to be building and training the model and working with all of the test data and so on and training data. We're going to be leveraging Microsoft's model. And you can see some examples that they've got here of some of the input images that we can send in, and we can see the actual results coming out, which is what we're going to be getting out of the service, depending on the type of operation that we're running. So you can see that it's detected some objects here. It's got a skateboard with a confidence of 90%. These decimal numbers are between 0 and 1, so that's going to be 90%. And then we've got a person with a confidence of 95%. We've also got the bounding rectangles, which can be used to locate this and draw these basic boxes on the images there. We'll be looking at this a bit later on in more detail when we look at working with code-based operations against the service. So we can select another image here, and we can see that it's identifying a large number of objects. We're also providing a description on this image, a group of people sitting at a table using a laptop, of which is 96% confident. It does mention a few things that we haven't got present. It mentions food, restaurant. I don't really see much food in the image there, but most of these it's getting right. We also get information about the image dimensions and so on, and it's also predicting here if this image contains adult content. So there's a 0.6% chance that it contains adult content there. And there's a number of different images that we can test with. So what I'd really like to do is, instead of using the Microsoft images that they're providing, I'd like to use some of my own images. So these are some that I've downloaded, and I'm going to be using these to demonstrate some of the different features that we've got within the computer vision service. So the first thing I'm going to need to do is to create an instance of this service. So I'm in my Azure portal here, and I've got a resource group called Cognitive Services Webcasts I'm going to be using for these webcasts. I'm going to click on Create, and I'm going to type Vision. And you can see here we've got the Computer Vision service, so let's create an instance of that. I'm going to drop this in West Europe. I'm located in Stockholm, so that's the closest location. I'll just call it Alan Comp Vision. The pricing tier. Now I can choose a free pricing tier, which is going to be fine for my demo. I get up to 20 calls a minute or 5,000 calls per month on that. If I want to pay for it, I can go for the standard, which gives me 10 calls per second, which we're probably going to be using in a production scenario. We also need to agree to these various terms and conditions. I haven't read these in a lot of detail, but I'm going to select that. They're talking about responsible AI, and Microsoft is providing loads of information about that if we want to. If we are working with, if we're concerned about privacy and we've set up a virtual network, a VPN, within our Azure subscription, then we can include this service within that VPN. In my case, I'm going to be accessing it from my local computer, so I'm not going to choose that. So let's just take Review and Create that resource. Okay, here we can see that the resource has been created, so I can navigate to this resource. One of the things I'm going to need to look at is the API console. And what this is going to do is to provide me with the details of how I can call this API. And I'm going to be calling the API through Postman. And this is a tool. If you've not used Postman, I definitely recommend installing it, especially if you're working with APIs. It's great for testing at logic apps and functions and so on. And what it allows us to do is to basically make calls to an API, specify the headers, specify the body, and basically see the results in JSON format that are going to be coming back from the API. So this is the tool that I'm going to be using. In future webcasts, I'm going to be looking at calling it using Python and calling it using C#. But using Postman is a great way of being able to get your head around the functionality for using the API. Okay. So in the documentation, I think the simplest thing we can do is the image description. So I'm going to click on Describe Image, and I'm going to scroll down and look at the details on that. I'm not going to bother reading through all of the documentation. But basically, we've got a couple of options of calling this API. One of them is to basically pass a URL to an image that is located on a website. Now this is great if your image is in blob storage. You can basically generate a SAS URL on that blob, and then you can basically pass that and it will be able to read that from blob storage. That's how most Azure projects are going to work. But because my images are located locally on my hard drive, and I'm going to be sending them using Postman, I'm going to be sending the actual stream, the binary data of the image there. So we should, if we scroll down, have an example of how we can call this. You can see that we've got this using curl, and then if I want to use it Python, we've got some Python examples, and we've got some C# examples, many other languages as well. But what I'm going to do is just take the URL for this method, which is this thing here, and I'm going to make that call. I think everything is optional here, all of the actual additional parameters. So I'm going to basically copy this bit of the URL. I'm going to go to Postman and I'm going to drop in this URL. Now we're posting an image, so we're going to be doing a post operation here. We need to supply a couple of things in order for this API to work. I need to specify the endpoint for my service, and then also in the request headers, I'm going to need to specify the content type of the media that I'm going to be sending, and then also the subscription key. Now, this is saying OCP APIM subscription key. If you've ever worked with Azure API management, you'll recognize this. It's an API management subscription key. APIM stands for API management. And behind the scenes, API management is actually used to host this service. And that's what's providing the authentication and also the rate limiting that we've got when we're using the different pricing tiers. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do is identify this information there. Let's start with the endpoint. So if I go back to my computer vision service, in the endpoints and keys section, we should see that we've got my endpoint here. So I can copy that to the clipboard. I can go back to Postman and I can basically replace that bit there with the endpoint there. And then it's going to be the describe operation that we're calling. We're also going to need to send some data. So when I go to the body section, I'm going to select that it's going to be binary data. I'm going to select a file. And here we can see the images that I'm going to be using as test images for this service. So let's take this one here, Elon Tesla 3.jpg, and try making that call. So it's coming back with a 401, access is denied due to invalid subscription key. So what I haven't done in the headers, if we look at the headers for this request, we can see, let's just expand this a bit. Content type is set to image JPEG. Now this is something that Postman is doing. When I read in that file, it knows it's a JPEG file, so that's being set automatically. But what's not been set is the subscription key. So back to the docs, it's going to be the OCP APIM subscription key. So let's copy that, go back to Postman and drop that in as the actual key. And this isn't the subscription key, the key is the key of the header if you get that, and the actual subscription key is going to go here. So let's go back to the docs and to this, and what I can do is copy my key to the clipboard. I'll use the primary key. We get 2 of these provided. And I'm going to go back to Postman and let's drop in that key there and make that call. Okay, let's see what we've got back. So here we've got the description coming back. So it's given us some tags. It's saying outdoor, road, car, person, curb. I'm just going to basically bring this image up. It was this one that I tested here. So you can see that it is outdoor. There's a person, there's a car, and there's a curb. So it does seem to be have predicted those various tags. Let's go back to Postman. You can say it's saying a man standing next to a car, of which it's 69.5 confident there, and it's giving us a bit of information about it being a JPEG image. Let's try with another one. So if I go back to body, I should be able to replace this image here, and we'll select a file and we'll choose bond3.gif and send that. And here it's actually come out with Daniel Craig standing next to a car. One of the things, and we'll look at this in more detail, that the computer vision service is very good at is celebrity detection. It didn't detect Elon Musk in the first image, but it has detected Daniel Craig, and we'll look at the celebrity detection features that we've got a bit later on. Again, we've got some tags, and what this describe is doing is just basically providing a sentence which describes the image. So we could use this to be able to put underneath images that people are uploading, or it could be, if someone's uploading an image, it could be a suggested caption for that image with the user having the options to change it. Sometimes it does come up with some strange options. You'll see this when you're testing it. It doesn't always get it correct, so you may want to edit this if you would like to do that. Okay, so let's see what else we can do with this service, as well as describing. So we've got the option to be able to do object detection. So this detect objects method, I think the URL is fairly basic. I just send in detect into the URL. So back to Postman, let's just change this to detect. And we'll use the same image here. And what it's come up with here is the various objects. So it's detected a tie, of which it's 61% confident. It's detected a person, and it's detected a car. It's also, I've not seen this kind of a parent-child. It's got the land vehicle and it's got the vehicle also detected there. And, oh yeah, it's a vehicle and then it's a land vehicle and then it's a car. So this is kind of a hierarchical classification that it's doing. I've not noticed that one before. What it's also giving us is these bounding box rectangles. So if I go back here and I take, I think we're using Bond 3. Let's crack this open in Paint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick Paint here, and we can see that the tie was detected at 47593, and it was 15 by 78. These are the actual dimensions of that. So let's just see if it's got that right. If I go into shapes and choose a rectangle, let's make that red, and I'm going to go to about 475. I'm kind of guessing it's this tie here. So that's around about 475, 93 is about there. And then I draw a box which is those dimensions, so it's going to be about 16 by 78. That's about that. You can see that it's detecting the tie there. And then we've got the person, which is at 391. 14, which is about here somewhere, and then 166 by 368 is round about that. As you can see, it's giving us these these bounding boxes around those items there. So it's pretty good at doing object detection for these basic objects. So the next thing we're going to look at is generating a thumbnail image for an image. So what I'm going to do is click on Get Thumbnail. And if I scroll down here, you can see we generate a thumbnail here. This is going to be the method. Now here we do need to specify the width and the height of the thumbnail that we're going to be creating. So I'm going to copy generate thumbnail. We'll replace that there, and what I need to do is specify the width and the height. So I'll set it as to being 100 by 100 and send this request here. Now instead of getting JSON back, what we're actually getting back is a smaller image, and this is the thumbnail that it has created. Now going back to Paint, if I was to do this, if you to write an automatic program that's just going to crop the images, you typically take the center of the image and you would do a crop operation. So if you were basically doing a thumbnail operation yourself, just using basic code, it would probably do something like that, meaning, you know, the person is a really important part of the image. That's kind of the main focus of the image. But that's going to be completely missed out if you're just doing this by code. And you can see that the image that we've got here isn't doing that. It actually understands which is the area of interest within the image there. So that's a much nicer way of being able to generate thumbnails of images that people are uploading. Incidentally, we do have, as well as that, a get area of interest. So if you do want to write your own code to, you know, create thumbnails and generate a nice border around the image, we've got that area of interest there. Back to Postman, and we send in that, and these coordinates that are coming out of starting at 1640 and this width and the height. If we go back to Paint, just do a Control-Z and we start at 164, which is right about here somewhere. and that's about the dimensions that it's suggesting. This is basically showing us what the area of interest is. So we could write our own code to do the crop, just getting the area of interest from cognitive services. Okay, so probably the most complex operation we've got is this analyze image here. And this has many different options that we can do with identifying various visual features. Now, some of these do overlap the basic methods that we've seen earlier. We've got object detection. We've got the option of being able to provide a description, which is just like the object detection and description service there. But we've also got some additional options here. So let's have a look through those. What I need to do is to pass in analyze into Postman. And if we don't specify any additional parameters, it doesn't really come back with much information. So here we do need to specify what we want. So I'm just going to copy this in. And what I'll do is I'm just going to split these windows here. So let's drop that there and drop this thing here. And we'll rattle through a few of those. So we'll take adult first. What it's doing is it's analysing the image and coming up if it's got an adult content, racy content, or gore content. And you can see that these are all very low numbers for those. We've also got brands detection. So if I take brands, it's not case sensitive here. It hasn't detected any brands within that image here, but I do have a few that should contain brands. So let's just try this Formula 1 car. Oh, invalid argument. Yeah, I got this wrong. Why is it an invalid argument? Specified type feature is not valid. Bonds. Brands. Yeah, so this is coming out with Red Bull in two different instances there. I think if I go back here, what it's detecting actually here, if you draw the boxes, is this, Red Bull logo here with a bull and then the text logo here. But it's not detecting many of the images here. We've also got Honda, we've got Oracle, we've got Esso, we've got Mobile One. So it's not really detecting all of those. So some it will work very well with. Needless to say, if we choose Microsoft, the Microsoft image there, it's detecting Microsoft. Others, not so much. If I go to this thing here, this image, it's not detecting any brands. Let's just crack open that image. Because here we've got the Lego logo, which is very prominent. We've also got the Porsche logo and Porsche written down here. It's not detecting those ones there. So you may find that performance varies here. It was quite good with the Ferrari, actually. So let's go back to Postman and just take that image of the Ferrari. So here it's detecting Ferrari and Shell. And this is the Ferrari logo, and this is the Shell logo. It says in the documentation that there's thousands of brands that it can detect. Obviously, the list isn't complete. One of the things I'd like to see is better brand detection. The services are evolving all of the time, so hopefully improved brand detection is something that they will work on and will get better in the future. Another thing we've got is color. So let's try it with color. And what we're getting here is the dominant colours of the images being grey and black, dominant colour foreground, dominant colour background. And then if we choose another image, something like this, and send this in, there's lots of reds and blacks in there. So it's pulling out the foreground colour as being red, the background colour as being black. So if you've got a website that's putting borders around images, you may want to make the borders being appropriate, the appropriate color, so it makes the image stand out. I'm a back-end programmer, so I understand nothing about graphic design, but those who are graphically inclined will understand about being able to choose complementary colors and things like that. We've seen description, so let's take a look at faces and drop this thing in here. Didn't detect any in that particular image, so let's choose one that's a bit more appropriate, and we can go, let's choose this one here. Lots of faces there. So here it's coming out with the actual faces and the bounding box of those. They're also coming up with the predicted gender and the predicted age on these. So it's basically identifying, you know, whether we've got males, females, what their approximate age is in here. It's not doing any celebrity detection on that. We'll look at that a bit later on. It would be nice to know if it does recognize any of those people there, but identifying the faces on that is something that maybe we're going to be useful. You could want to anonymize the images and basically have a blur operation, so you're basically blurring out any faces in images that you're going to be showing. That's a scenario where you could be using that. So we've seen object detection and we've seen tags. So what we'll look at is the option of being able to use these various models. You can do this using the Analyze option there, but we also have the option to get domain-specific content. So recognize domain-specific content is the one that I'm going to use. First of all, we want to know what models are available. Currently, I think it's only landmarks and celebrities, but maybe this is going to be improved, and we're going to have additional models there. So I can perform a get operation to find out the models that we've got available. So let's just, I think it's just models. So back to Postman. And let's stick in models there. We need to be doing a get operation there. And it's coming back with, we've got celebrities and we've got landmarks. So we'll take celebrities. I'm going to copy this into the clipboard. I'm going to stick that in there for later, and then back to the docs. So now we want to recognize domain-specific models. And we've got the URL for this, which is this thing here. So we do models, and then we do the model, and then we do analyze here. So I'm going to copy this, and then if I can, we'll go back to Postman. So it's vision / models, and then it was / celebrities / analyze. And because this time we're sending the image, we need to change back from a get request to a post request and send that through. So it has recognized Bill Gates. It's recognized Ernie De Gregorio, Jim Lane, and Bob Wallace. So these are the 4 people out of the original Microsoft team that Cognitive Services classifies as celebrities. So let's try a few more, because I got quite a few celebrities in these sample images. So if we go back to Postman, we'll try this one, and that's picked out Chris Harris. Select this one here of the Top Gear presenters. Well, this is the old Top Gear presenters. So it's got Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May. It recognises those. So let's try it with the new Top Gear presenters. Matt LeBlanc is classified as a celebrity, but then we've got 2 unknowns. I'm not a big fan of the new series of Top Gear. I think it can recognise Elon as well, so let's just verify that. If I go back and let's just see if we take this image here, Elon Tesla, and send that one in. No, it hasn't got him. Let's try this one. No. This one. Yeah, it's picked out Elon Musk there. So you can see, depending on the quality of the image, maybe their face, whether they're facing the camera, the clarity that it can get in the image, it's pretty good at recognizing celebrities. I have done some other videos if you want to look at the stuff that I've done on cognitive search. That's where we basically integrate these capabilities that we've got with the computer vision service into the searching capabilities. So you can automatically index a whole file of images, and it will basically classify where it's got celebrities, so you can search, do a tag search for certain celebrities that you've got within your image collection. So what I've done in this webcast is kind of giving you an idea of the feature set that we've got within the Azure Cognitive Services computer vision service. In future webcasts, what I'm going to look at is doing and how we can do this programmatically, and then how we can start to build solutions that's going to be leveraging these various services. And I'm going to be looking at doing this in Python and also in C#. C#'s what you're probably going to be using if you're working with Azure. Python's what you're probably going to be using if you're working with AI and ML. So those are the 2 core languages that I'd like to cover.